When I moved here, I didn't know a soul. So as scary as this can be, like cold calling people, it is what grew my business to where it is today. People became my friends through business. So if you're newer in the business or you are looking to expand your business, I know it seems scary, but they don't know who you are on the other side of the phone. And so at the end of the day, if y'all are passing each other at the grocery store, they don't know. But if you go in them with the mindset when you're calling them of thinking like, I can truly help this person, or somebody's going to call them anyways. What if they got a bad agent who called them because you chose not to call them? You know, that doesn't do them justice either. So I do encourage you to open your mindset and, you know, consider this as one of your options for growing your real estate business. But Cale has still dials now today, and so he is definitely more experienced when it comes to this. I dialed years ago, but it was definitely a blessing to my business.
Super excited to be here and teach this class. This is gonna go great. So we had thoughts of like maybe doing some live calls. I think logistically that probably wouldn't make sense just because people don't answer. Sometimes they do, but sometimes I get drawn out on long conversations, and I may have to step out, and that really wouldn't make any sense. But so I just spent a few hours in my spare time creating some scripts and creating like a PowerPoint to go over. So we'll start with the PowerPoint, and we'll do the scripting at the end. And if we have time, maybe we can do some role playing or something like that. So, excuse me, Keynote PowerPoint is for non-MacBook users. So dialing for leads. Can I go in present mode? How do I do this? Okay. So how does that look? Is it good? The old black and white. So dialing for leads. So the first thing I want to talk about is some myths that surround cold calling, because there's a lot out there, especially if you get any real estate content on TikTok, you'll see people cold call, and you'll see people in the comments just berating you and disparaging you and say it doesn't work anymore. But so the first one is dialing is dead. Nobody answers the phone. That's not true. I've already set an appointment this week. I set an appointment last week. People answer the phone because most people I feel like that are property owners are probably a little bit older, and they'd probably rather pick up the phone than send a text message. Another one I hear is that may work for you, but that doesn't work for me. That's not true at all either, because it's really, I see it as like a skill. It's like something you practice, something you can role play back and forth. There's nothing special about me that would prevent you from doing the same thing I do. You can script, you can practice, you can make the calls just like I can. So there's really nothing that sets me apart from anybody else. I don't want to be pushy or salesy. This is one I hear a lot. You don't have to be pushy and you don't have to be salesy. Some of the things that I go into when I talk to homeowners, I'm not very, if they start giving a lot of resistance, I'm not pushy. I'm not going to try to talk you into doing something you don't want to do. That's not my MO when I make calls, and you don't have to be that way. And then the last one, calling strangers makes me uncomfortable. And to that I say, you'll be okay.
It makes everybody uncomfortable.
But you will survive.
I would rather cold call 100 FSBOs than do this right here. So you'll be all right. Some common types of dialing. I've kind of coined this phrase in my spare time, semicircle dialing. That's not really a term, but it's more or less dialing with maybe, something in mind, with a prospect in mind. Maybe you have somebody that's looking for a vacant lot. You drive by it, you see it, you look up the phone number. Hey, that's kind of, you have a goal in mind. You're not just completely dialing without a reason. Circle dialing, everybody knows what that is. You're dialing anyone. You're dialing an entire condo complex. You're dialing a whole neighborhood, something like that. Expired and withdrawn listings, kind of self-explanatory. They don't sell the first time, the second time, the third time, whatever it may be. They go expired on the MLS. You look up the information. You call them. You're obviously trying to get a listing.
I want to say this. Those are the easiest.
We'll go over that.
For converting. Like, they really are. Yeah. Go ahead.
Did you read my PowerPoint?
Nope.
Well, we're good. We'll get into that.
You know I interrupt, so.
That's right.
So we can call cancel, right?
Cancel, technically, that contract has been
Temp
canceled.
off market,
You can't call temp off.
not temp off market.
And now, just so FYI, withdrawn is supposed to mean you still have a listing group. You're not supposed to call withdrawn ones.
So not withdrawn. What's the difference from
That is news to me.
They told me at the board, withdrawn means they wanted to cancel the listing basically, but you still have an active listing agreement you're holding them to through the end of that period. That status is what it's supposed to mean. I don't know that everybody knows that and uses it that way,
I
but
think
We'll take,
Cale would
we'll
have
take
liked
the
to
slap
tell
on the
him
wrist
on
if
different
somebody
time.
says something on that one.
Yeah,
So.
we'll cut that out of the recording because I have called them. First sale by owner, these are the bane of my existence. I hate calling them. I'd rather go find some different line of work than call for sale by owners a lot of times because you'll see.
Hard-headed.
So we'll go into semi-circle dialing first. Like I said, I kind of just made up this term because you're kind of circle dialing, but you're dialing with a goal in mind. And to me, I think this is the easiest form of prospecting. I think that expireds are the second easiest, and just the conversations tend to go a little quicker and a little bit to the point. And people usually aren't mad. They don't have a property that went for sale and went off the market. They're really not expecting a call at all. People are typically receptive of calls. So your goal for semicircle dialing is really short term. You're looking for, hey, I got a guy that wants to buy now, or hey, I'm trying to find this lot to build on. Whatever it may be, it's a really short term goal, but you can turn it into like a long term kind of nurture thing. Circle dialing, this is just kind of the most cold of calls that you could possibly call. I think it's the second hardest form of prospecting. First would be for sub-owners. You're basically wanting to talk with anybody that'll listen to you. You're calling a whole neighborhood, you're calling a condo complex. Your goal is, it can be either short-term or long-term. You can look, and a lot of people will tell you to ask, hey, you know anybody that's looking to move right now? Do you know anybody that's looking to sell right now? I personally don't like that approach. I think the long-term play is probably better, and Ricky Carruth became really, really famous for this style of coaching. Is he's just going to call the whole neighborhood, he's going to try to get 5 email addresses a day, and he's going to put them on a long-term drip, and he's just going to create clients that way, which I think is very difficult to do. You can think about circle dialing kind of like farming, but you're on the phone. So instead of sending postcards, you're just calling people. It's a lot cheaper, but it will cost you your sanity. So if you get the email, you win. So that's the way to look at it. Like if you call, he'll tell you to call 100 people a day. If you get 5 emails, that's a win. To me, that sounds like a way to get burnt out really fast. And you won't enjoy that very long, I don't think. Expired listings, this is kind of my go-to. This is what I like calling. I find them, I wouldn't say easy, but I find them more approachable. I think it's the second easiest prospecting method overall. Your leads get handed to you daily in the MLS. You just go click the expired list and you have a targeted list already made for you. The MLS does it. They make it very easy. You know the homeowner wants to sell. They had their house for sale yesterday before you came in the office this morning, and now it's not for sale. So you know they're probably still likely to want to sell. And in all my calls, they probably don't like their old agent. Some people will still be kind of loyal to their agent, and I respect that. I never try to push those boundaries. If they like their agent, I'm not one to be like, why don't you try me instead? Because I just feel like that comes off as too pushy and too salesy. The goal is short term, definitely with expireds. Now it can be long term, but it's mostly short term. It's like, hey, I'm trying to set the appointment on the first phone call, which can be challenging, but that's kind of the goal is to get that appointment. I've had people call and I start talking about their house and they say, can you come out today at 11? I'm free. And I'm like, checking my calendar, I got to get out the door, because let me let you go because I got to pull some comps. So you just never know really what you're going to run into when it comes to expireds. FSBOs, I think these are the single hardest form of prospecting. They probably don't like you when you're a realtor. They're very standoffish. Maybe they, used a realtor in the past and had a bad time. Maybe they had a bad experience. They usually they don't want to pay your commission. They think we don't do anything. They think we're useless and all that good stuff. And they can be very mean, and they are usually very mean. So
Can be very mean or usually mean.
yeah. That's two important points. Don't forget that.
They can be very aggressive. Like, I don't love them.
I don't know how to defend myself.
Yeah. Verbally or? So I have more than this. I just didn't have time to do it. I spent 4 or 5 hours putting all this together. I didn't have time to do another slide, but these are some of my dialing guidelines. Just off the top of my head, always use a script. Don't ever try to go, and you don't have to take notes I can send all this to everyone that wants it. Always use a script. You're not going to make up something off your head. People have been cold calling for 100 years now. There's a method out there that works. You should always find a script that works. Now you can tweak it. Let's say you've made 1,000, 2,000 phone calls, and you can kind of tweak it. You'll get off track. Maybe you can edit the script and see what works for you a little bit better. But there's methods out there that already work. There's no reason that you should be trying to come up with what to say on the phone by yourself. That makes everything harder. Your tonality, that's the most important part of a cold call. You can't sound boring. You don't want to sound too aggressive. You just want to sound like a professional. You want to sound like you know what you're doing. You're the one with the information. You're the one that can get it done. You want to be cool, calm, and collected, but you don't want to sound boring either.
You sound friendly, like when somebody's on the other line and you can tell like if they're smiling through the phone, that's what you want to sound like. You want to sound like you're their best friend when making the call.
Yeah, and a lot of times I'll stand up and walk around and talk because your voice sounds completely different when you're laying in bed versus when you're sitting up versus when you're walking, and people can really tell in your energy levels too. A big one for me is always assume that you have the right name when you're dialing. So I never call and say, "Hey, is this John?" Because as soon as they know you don't know if you have the right number, they know they don't know you. If you call and say, "Hey, good morning, John," so you're still asking a question, but you're asking it with the assumption that that's who you're speaking to. So never open a call with a question that sounds like you don't know what you're doing or you don't know who it is, because immediately they'll say, "Yeah, who is this? Like, what do you want?" And you don't want that. You don't want to create resistance that fast in the call. I've been doing this my whole life. Always call out the awkward stuff. I feel like it lets the prospect see that you understand where they're coming from, and you can put yourself in their shoes. So, for example, if I get some resistance on a phone call and they're like, "Yeah, this is John. How can I help you?" Like, you could tell they don't want to talk to you. I immediately go into, "Hey, John, I know you weren't really expecting me to call today. I'll be quick, I promise." And 99% of phone calls I make let me finish what I have to say. Now, whether we do a deal or not, whatever. But at least they let me get my pitch out before they say, not interested, and hang up. Now, I do get hung up on, and some mean stuff is said from time to time. But for the most part, I would say 99% of people who pick up the phone let me talk. So it's a pretty good.
And like the no
Right.
is just like one step closer to the yes. So
Yeah.
the fact that they say no, who cares?
Yeah.
So what do you do to pick yourself up in between when you get like 4 no's? What song do you listen to, or what do you do that like?
Yeah. I
picks
mean, you're
up your
allowed.
energy again?
You're allowed to cry between calls. You don't have to they don't know that, like they don't know. I write mean stuff down about them and then I erase it. Yeah. Yeah. So when I was carrying a notebook before I started doing it digitally, they would be mean and I would say something mean about them in my notebook, and then because I would throw the sheet away at the end of it, I would shred it and then throw the sheet away at the end of every day. Yeah.
I think, Lisa Jo, it depends on like your personality. Like, so mine would just be like, well, I just wasn't meant to help them, and that's okay. So I'm gonna keep calling until I find the person I'm meant to help.
Where I'm like,
He's gonna write down.
I'm not that positive.
He's gonna write down something
I'm
mean
not
so
that
he
positive.
feels better.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just depends. Like,
what?
I think you're meant to help everybody in this business that you're meant to help. Period.
100%.
So it's kind of one of those things. It's like a nose. It's just a
I
nose.
just know a lot of it is like confidence and like you're talking about your tone. So sometimes it's like, I know I need to keep going, but I've been told no, and it's kind of hard to like switch your mood around and sound not like you're.
Do you feel like you're a good agent for your clients?
Depends on what client.
Well,
I mean that
I feel
as
like
in,
you go.
there are some that I thought were great and wasn't that way. I
That
can
was
Well, they
forget
could
that
be,
recording.
but they could be crazy.
The question was,
Yes.
The question
do the
was,
best for your
are
client.
you a
Yes.
good realtor
Do I
for your
think my
clients?
clients are good for me is, I guess, the better
Sure.
question.
Do you feel like you go over and beyond for
Yes.
your clients?
Yes,
Okay.
every
Do
single
you
one.
feel like if it came down to, don't say a name out loud, think of a name
recording.
that you've done in business with in the past that was really hard to work with. If they got that person or they could get you, what would be more beneficial if you were to make the phone call?
That's a good question.
Do you want them to end up with the other person that's hard to work with? Or do you want them to end up with a realtor who goes over and beyond, cares for her
I
clients?
want to be the one that they're choosing. I
So
just don't want to be
that
the
part
reason
is your
anymore.
confidence of like, you're going in with the phone call with the confidence of like, I'm an awesome realtor because I go over and beyond for my clients and I truly care,
Right.
okay? And then they would be blessed to have me because of those things.
Amen. I like that. I'm trying, y'all. Taking
Yeah.
notes. I'm taking notes.
The irony is thick in my life because you talk about having to be confident. I'm like one of the least confident people, but I'm actually more.
Very confident.
Yeah.
He
But
worked on that.
yeah, it's been a rough 2 years. But I'm one of those people that I think I'm better on the phone than I am in person, which is crazy because that person can't see me. So I'm like, I'm really not worried about it. Like if they cuss me out, if they do whatever, I'll just move on to the next. I won't be as positive as Kendall, but I'll move on.
No, but I do feel the same. Like,
Eventually.
Like if you put me in an open house, I fail every single time.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I'm better behind the phone when I don't know you than I am belly to belly.
Yeah, because I think it's easier to train. Like I said, it's like a developed skill. It's easy to sit here and I'm talking about when I've obsessed over this stuff for the. I told you I've probably made about 10,000 calls. You're like, Cale, why are you not more successful? That's a great question. It's because I never stayed consistent with it, and for many years I would dial intermittently, and I wouldn't have the formula that I needed in order to be successful, and then I would get tired of it and I would give up. But every appointment I set now is like, that's just motivation to keep going to the next one. I mean, I think the best feeling in this business is creating a relationship with somebody that had no idea who you were before you called. You closed it, they're happy, 5-star review. It's like, what better feeling is there?
One of them that you just closed was in Hawthorne Glen.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't expired, correct?
It was.
Okay, so why don't you tell like the story behind that?
It was under contract 4 times. They needed a new roof. They pulled it off the market. It was like a family friend, so it was like a lot of drama involved because he was not nice about giving up the listing. She was going to take it off the market, put $20,000 into it. She's like, I need to do all this updating. She lived in Birmingham. She was a dentist. And just happened to call her at the right time. And I was like, before you do that, let me go look at the house. We hadn't had any signed agreement. I was just trying to be like assumptive. This is my client. Like, let me do this. So I went and looked at the house. I made a list. I sent her the list from the iPhone, and I said, this is what I would do. I would not do the things you're thinking of doing. I know you don't know me, you don't trust me, but trust me, this is a nice house. I said, it can be sold in this condition. It's in a very desirable neighborhood. I actually called Tatiana's husband. He came over. I think it was like $900 is what we put into it. I mean, there was fire alarms missing. Some of the carpet needed fixing, stapled back down. It painted a door frame. I mean, just small stuff. It needed to be cleaned. My guy came over and cut the grass, and she ended up agreeing to sign the listing with me. We had 3 offers in 24 hours. She got the new roof put on. We had 3 offers in 24 hours, and we put it for $10,000 more than it was last listed for, and it sold for full price. And she couldn't say anything but nice things about me. So
she could have stayed with her realtor.
Riley's
who was
client
not
almost bought it.
giving her a good service, or she switched to somebody who truly cares, even though she didn't know the person. He actually cared more than the family friend because 1, he wants to make a sale, yes, but 2, like I really think I can help her. That's what he was thinking. Like I can help her. All she needs to do is X, Y, and Z. She's about to put 20 grand into it versus 900. 900, yeah.
So she saved $19,000 up front and made an extra $10,000. So she made an extra $30,000 basically by not listening to the other guy, and he was not nice about it. He was very mean.
But had you not called, somebody else would have called, and the listing would have ended up with somebody else.
Yeah,
Do you ask them like what was it about the last time it was listed that you think it didn't work, or do you ask any questions about not trying to cap on what the other agent didn't?
Oh no, you want to do that, yeah. Okay. You do want to do that. Okay. I have some scripts that we're going to go over. Okay. That kind of go into more detail about that stuff.
And you're going to be on the other side of the script, Lisa. Okay. I'm just kidding.
I was like, I wasn't aware of this. So always call it the awkward stuff. Like I said, catch them by surprise. Make them feel like you actually care about their situation. You know where they're coming from. You don't want it to just be a one-sided thing. Always ask questions in any conversation. The client's going to think they're controlling the conversation by giving you the answers, but you're asking these questions with the a forethought that you're trying to lead them down a certain path. You're controlling the conversation if you ask the right questions. Try to listen more than you talk. You want to bring out things that are going to make the client talk and talk and talk. Because the more they talk to you, the more rapport is being built, and the more they're going to trust you, just by listening. Repeat pain points, this is what we just talked about. Repeat pain points with curiosity. Studies have shown that people are more likely, when they're being sold to, they're more likely to avoid pain than they are to want to gravitate towards pleasure. And we can talk more about that later. I have some scenarios, but they'd rather avoid a bad thing than receive a good thing. Like, that's just human psychology. And here's the big one: closed mouths don't get fed. Always ask for the appointment. If you're, You don't need to be calling if you're too shy to ask, because you might as well ask. What's the worst that could happen? You not get the deal? Well, you didn't have the deal anyway, so you might as well ask. And then as far as calling, another important one, time block it. If you don't block off if you're not, what's the word I'm looking for? Intentional.
Consistent,
Yeah.
intentional.
About your time to call, you will find every reason in the world not to call. I still have call reluctance. Like sometimes I'll look at my list throughout the day and I'm like, I don't really want to do this. But I can look back and say, I closed this many deals, I've signed this many clients since I called, let me call. And a lot of times it'll be for stupid reasons. The human brain is insane. Like I will literally look at somebody and I'll be like, oh, this person's in their 70s, they're gonna cuss me out. They don't want a cold call. And then I'll call him, he'll be like, well, I'm glad you called me, son. And I'm like, that was the greatest call ever, you know? Like, and I find a reason, I'll be checking their background on forewarned, be like, oh, I got a DUI, I'll probably not call them, you know? And then they'll be the nicest person in the world, you know? So you look for any reason to get out of it, and most of the time it's not even a legit reason.
What is your ideal calling time?
I like to call first thing in the morning just because I want to get the crappy part of my day out of there. You know what I mean?
So that's why I asked you. So they say do your hard first.
Yeah.
And the reason why they say do your hard first is because you can't control the rest of your day. You can't control the crazy that came out on a deal, the fire that you now have to put out. Typically your appointments are more in the afternoon. So they say like do the hard first. But your highest calling conversion times are 8 to 10 or 4 to 6. 4 to 6 never worked for me. I was picking up kids from school, doing homework, and we had dinner and baths and all the things. But 8 to 10 worked for me, and the other benefit is if you're one of the first to call, you stand out and they haven't gotten us pissed off yet because they haven't gotten the 20, 30 calls that they are going to get throughout that day. So just thoughts.
If somebody calls me after 5, I'm not answering.
Yeah.
As far as like a sales call.
Yeah.
If somebody calls me with a number that I don't have in my phone, I don't answer.
You
Yeah.
should answer that.
I do now, but I'm saying
Well,
if
that-
I was not
I'm
a
like,
realtor,
that could
I
be a
would
side
not
call.
answer. No, I do now. I'm saying like, but whenever I
Yeah,
wasn't a
yeah.
realtor,
That's fair.
I would not answer.
That's
Now
fair.
I answer everybody and I'm ticked off at everybody that's not.
Yeah.
A
And a lot of people won't.
I answer.
Yeah.
Are you getting the feedback from people that so many people are calling me? Like,
Very rarely. I found that not as many people as you would think are calling.
I feel like before the market shifted, before COVID, there was a ton of people calling. Then when COVID hit, there wasn't a lot like expiring or coming off the market, so I think people kind of like got away from it,
Right.
and now you're seeing it like starting to come back. But I mean, you just use icebreakers. So like if somebody's like,
Call out. I mean, you have to.
just
You
call
have to.
out the obvious.
Yeah. Like, oh, this is my 5th call today. Oh, you must have a popular house. I'll make sure to take you off my list after we get off the phone, so I won't blow you up. And then you just right back into the script. You just you acknowledge it, and then you put it to the side and keep going. Like you can't let it like discourage you. But time blocking. So when I went down to they that shall not be named down in Orange Beach. They were very intentional about time blocking. It was 9 to 11 every morning. Like that's what you did. Like after the morning meeting, they all scattered, closed their doors to the offices, and they just jumped on the phones every single day. Appointments go in the afternoon, if possible. Now I know sometimes clients come in, they're like, oh, I can only see it at 8:20 in the morning, you know. So sometimes that happens, and you got to do what you got to do to make the client happy. But there's never been a time I've been fired because I didn't answer the phone at 8:30. And I'd send them a text and said, hey, I'll call you, I'm in a meeting, or, you know, I'm doing whatever. I'm on the phone, I'll call you in an hour. Like, I've never been fired by a client for just putting them off, you know, for an hour. So I think this, obviously, getting new business into your pipeline is the most important thing you can do. Because you can close everything you have right now, but if you don't have anything coming, then we're going to have to go find another job. So I think it's very important to time block and make sure to be intentional about your time dialing or prospecting, however you want to do it. Systems, these are some systems you can use. Vulcan 7 and Red X, they're very expensive. They give you data and dialers right in your, you know, right on your desktop. Forewarn if you're like me.
Explain what a dialer is.
So a dialer is, so like for Vulcan 7, it'll pull, you'll set your MLS, you'll connect it to the MLS, it'll pull in the data every morning. So you'll just log into it and the data's already there. It'll show you every expired. 20 expires, here's their contact information, here's the address, here's the phone numbers associated with the account, here's the last time it sold. Then you call into a number they give you, and then you just keep it on speaker or keep it up to your ear, and you stay connected to the call. No, you're good. So you'll stay connected to the call, and you'll take your mouse, you'll click on the number, and it'll start ringing. So you don't have to manually dial anything. It just automatically dials for you. Now they are very expensive. I'm talking $400 a month probably for these things. But if you're doing 5 deals a year off expireds, it's probably worth it, depending on how many people you're calling. So if you're circle dialing, it's definitely worth it, because you might dial 200 people in a condo or in a neighborhood, and you know, it might be worth it to you. I just dial expireds, and I'm also cheap, so I use Forewarn. I just look up people's information, because I'm probably only calling a handful of people a day. I like to go through the expireds and pick the ones that I think probably should have sold and go through them that way. Like, I'm probably not calling a 20-acre parcel in Elsinore that's been on the market for 2 years. You know, like, I'm just not interested in that.
Another system that releases information is called Ben Verified. So Ben Verified also can give you multiple phone numbers and stuff too.
Do you find a lot of success with Forewarn? Like, do you ever get to a phone number and it's not the right phone? Like, you've got to...
Yeah, sometimes it'll pull like 7 phone numbers.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things where I'm probably just making an excuse. But if it's like no mobile numbers and it's all residential, like it's just landlines, I'm not calling. Like,
Yeah.
but I probably should.
That's the same with Ben Verified. There was, it sometimes, I'm sure Vulcan is like, boom, you click and you're
Yeah.
talking to the person. But when you're looking around to find, like,
Yeah.
Ben Verified and probably Forewarn.
But I will say Vulcan and RedX, same way. Vulcan has more accurate data than RedX, is what people say. They're just pulling phone numbers the same way too. So if you're going through the dialer, you may call the wrong person, especially if it's a condo. If it's something with high turnover rate, I've talked to people and they're like, yeah, I sold that 5 years ago. And all you do is just apologize and move on. They're usually not mad. Oh, what's it go? And you never know what it could turn into. Oh, what are they going for now? Oh, they're going for $500,000. Oh, I bought it for $100,000. Blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, you kind of turn it. Now y'all are talking about business, and you still just switch to a circle dial script and say, hey, can I keep up with you? Are you looking to move down here again? Maybe one day buy another vacation home. Let me get your email. And then all of a sudden you made a contact by accident. So, yeah.
I have a question. I think I used to use, I would go to the tax records and there was a way I could download an entire spreadsheet from the tax records
You
for
can.
like an entire neighborhood.
Mhm.
But then I also just paid for White Pages Premium that was like $6 a month.
Really?
Yes, so you can find numbers that way too.
Okay.
You go on CRS and you click on a name, you just pay for White Pages
Yeah.
Premium.
You can export into, and I just did it recently if I need to show you again. Because
Okay, 'cause I don't remember how.
Because my guy was looking for a lot to build, and I just went to CRS, and I did this city, I did absentee owners, vacant
Yeah.
land, this size parcel, and I exported it all to a spreadsheet. Then I would go down the spreadsheet, and I would eliminate
Yep.
the neighborhood lots, like the really small ones, and I would delete them all. Then all of a sudden, I had a list of 50 prospects in Robertsdale that may want to sell.
Exactly. Okay, cool.
And then like how you touched on circle dialing, like if you have a client who's like, I only want this neighborhood and there's nothing for sale in there, or they've seen what there, is available and they don't want it, you can dial the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You're
and
just
find
working
them.
for your client, doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I find people are really receptive to those calls because they feel like they have something that somebody wants. I mean, who doesn't want to know, oh, we want to buy your house? Who's going to be mad about that? I mean, you'll find some people that are mad about everything. But for the most part, they're people pretty receptive because they're not getting blown up. They don't have an expired. 5 other agents aren't calling them. You're just calling them out of the blue. Hey, just being friendly. My guy wants to buy your house. How'd you feel about that? That's not the script I use, but you know what I mean. That's a terrible script.
Also, do not call this.
The what?
The-
Not familiar.
Like,
We'll
so
omit
if
that in the
they-
recording.
If they say something, I just say, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll definitely add you to my, do not call.
Yeah.
And usually they let it go, like at that point.
I think in thousands and thousands of calls, I have one guy that was mad about, I called and left his wife, and he was a condo owner. I called and left his wife a voicemail, and he called me back and he was like, who gave you my number? I mean, he was mad. He was like, who gave you my wife's number? He was like, this number's private. He was like, we don't give this to the condo association. I want to know who and I just always be like, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. And I'll be like, well, I have a system he's like, well, it's not supposed to be on any systems. And I'm like, well, I'm not, Right. What? Yeah, I pay for it. You're not supposed to, you have technically a contract with these companies too. If you purchase Vulcan or RedX, they tell you when you sign up, they say, if they ask, you are not allowed to give our name out because they don't want to get eventually maybe shut down or something, Wow, that makes it sound really scummy.
You say I have a system.
Yeah, I just say I have a system. I'm a realtor. I can pull information on property. I mean, and most people just leave it at that. So your CRM with reminders, Boomtown is sufficient. Everybody that I have a conversation with, and it's a good conversation, and they don't just tell me, hey, I already have a realtor, no thanks, I'm more. Like I said, I don't pressure those people. But if they say, hey, yeah, potentially, or we're going to hold off for a while, we're going to see what the holidays bring or whatever, put them in the CRM, put a reminder, follow up, even if you just have their number. I think that's sufficient. You don't have to ask for an email right away. If you have their number, you're good. Text them, call them, follow up. I believe in, my follow up is, it's probably a little bit more aggressive than most. I will literally follow up with somebody for years with no response. Like I would just continue to follow up because I don't care. So I know that sounds bad, but if you tell me to buzz off, I'll stop. But we've had a conversation, we've built a little rapport, and maybe you've said, yeah, maybe I'll do a deal with you in 6 months or in 3 months after the holidays are over. I'm going to keep following up. And I've done deals that way. I followed up with expireds for almost 2 years before, and they come back and say, we're ready to sell now. And they don't respond at all the whole time. I mean, I can go through my text messages, and I've sent them 47 messages with no response. And then one day, they respond and say.
But if you don't have a follow-up system, they're not going to remember who you are.
Yeah. Now, I know some people say I follow up one time, and that's it. I just don't think that's enough. I just don't think that's enough at all.
They say the minimum is like 8.
7 or 8, yeah, at least. But like I said, if they tell you not to do any of that, don't do it. Unless you just want to be pushy. I don't. Scripts, we'll go over some scripts. You're not good enough to make it up on your own. I'm not good enough to make it up on my own. I found what worked through pretty much an obsession. I mean, this has become like an obsession. I'll be watching like cold call videos in the shower. I know that sounds crazy, but like the way I look at it, this is what I do for a living. If you're gonna do it, you might as well do it right and be good at it. You need a notepad or an iPad for notes, of course, and you need thick skin because people can be mean.
The notepad, sometimes they call you back like when you're in the car and you're no longer behind the computer. So the notepad needs to be available like kind of at all times.
Yeah.
Where you can write down the number, the name, and you can go back in your system and figure out which address if they didn't say on the call, and you can transfer your notes over of like, okay, they're looking to relist in May once their child graduates from college, or whatever the notes say.
I swear you read my PowerPoint.
No,
I mean my scripts.
I did this
because like what you're saying is very odd, very specific.
So I called for 6 or 7 years. I think, yeah, something like that.
Oh, class is over. I want to be able to like.
I dialed for
not
years.
full
And,
screen this.
I got to the point. It's kind of like what Cale's saying. It did get a little not obsessive, but like I got to the point where if I did not make my calls that morning, I was actually stressed out because that deters my pipeline like in the future. So it's like I was in a great mood if I made my calls, and if I didn't make my calls, I kind of was a little grumpy because I was worried about like who I missed that morning that I could have set an appointment with.
And sometimes you'll be mad after making
That I
your
could've
calls
helped.
because of the people.
What's your goal amount of calls to make when you sit down and do it?
So I just call expired, so I don't have like I need to dial 100 people. I look at the list every day and I say, I would like to have these 5 listings. So I'll just call those 5 people.
Do you ever go back to later expired?
Yes. So I found within our MLS, it's harder to do that because of the way it's set up. Like if you use like Vulcan or something though, they can pull those a little bit easier. Because the problem with our MLS, if you go back to old expireds and you pull them up, they may have sold last year. If you go back 5 years ago, they may have sold and you wouldn't even know unless you did the specific research.
You need to hit the history button. And so, because they might have a new MLS number, so if you're looking at an old expired and you hit the history
So
button.
it takes more time.
You might go to
it's telling you
CRS.
If it's active or closed or
Yeah.
whatnot, but that's the other thing, you do have to cross-reference and make sure, like, they are not relisted if you are calling them.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's a lot of gold in those old expireds because people quit calling them.
Yeah.
They gave up calling
Yeah.
them. So, they're not getting hit as hard by a lot of different realtors at one time.
Yeah. I always go to CRS and just scroll down and say, and it'll tell you if it's sold, obviously, or has a different owner. And that way you can kind of.
But to answer your question, I made like 50 calls a day, but I had a dialer, and so 50 calls
Yeah.
was quick.
Yeah.
Without the dialer, 50 calls is a lot.
Yeah.
But with a dialer, it's very fast. But so my goal was 50 per day, Monday through Friday. I didn't call on the weekends. Whatever I produced during the week was what was available.
Yeah.
Weekends
But
were off.
if you're doing like a circle dial, just burn them up. Just burn the phone up. That sounds fun to you. It doesn't sound fun to me. But if you're doing a circle dial, that's what you do. You call it because it's volume. It's volume. That overcomes every bit of chaos in the phone calls. You just do as much volume as you can. So I did the expired script first because this is kind of what I don't want to say my specialty. Like I'm so great at it, but I've converted a few of these, and I continue to set appointments using this exact script. Now, obviously, the conversation has the potential to kind of go sideways if you want, and that's why I get caught up out there. If you see me walking around outside, I've probably been talking for about 30 minutes on the phone because I don't like to sit still for too long. But I'll just go over this real quick. I have everything in bold is going to be conversation, and everything not in bold is kind of an explanation, if that makes sense. But I try to break this down the best I could.
Are you reading word for word, or you memorize this?
No, I have the expired memorized. I could do this, whatever, because I do it every day. I don't sit with the script in front of me at all anymore. I used to though, and that's kind of the part of the obsession thing. You got to study it. You got to practice it. You have to watch other people refine their skill, and you get a partner. Y'all can role play. It's not an exact 1-for-1. It's not 100% accurate. But at the same time, it's better than just doing nothing.
It's like your presentation, right? If you go into a listing appointment, you've presented to a seller or to a buyer however many times, and so you just kind of know it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So once this becomes a habit that you've created and you've mastered the script, then it's just internalized. So it's not like you're reading off a script. You do not want them to think that you're reading a script. So it needs to flow natural.
So, expired, hello, me. Hey, good morning, John. Same thing. We're not asking who they are. You always assume you know. Their response, whatever it is, yes or who is this, doesn't really matter. You just continue following the script. Hey, my name is Cale Myrick. I'm with Water's Edge Realty. You doing all right this morning? A lot of people will tell you not to ask that. We're in the South. I've never had an issue. I always ask how people are doing, whether they think you care about them or not. Nobody's ever said anything about that to me. But if you look at a lot of stuff online, they'll tell you to avoid that question. But like I said, I've never had any issues with it. However they respond, once again, kind of irrelevant. I'm doing good, I'm doing well. Or sometimes they'll ask you, I'm doing good, how about you? And if they ask how about you, please make sure to respond how you're doing, because if you start off ignoring them, that's not a good thing. I've seen cold calls online where they say, I'm doing well, how are you? And then they'll just go straight into the sales pitch. And I'm like, you just ignored, what the client said.
Back and forth conversation, guys.
Right. Like you have to acknowledge them, because they're the most important thing on the call. It's not us. Same thing I said earlier. I know you weren't really expecting a call this morning, so I'll make it quick, I promise. And then I just go right into it. I don't let them respond to that, because they might say something like, yeah, you're right, I wasn't expecting it, blah, blah, and you don't want to throw up that wall. So I just go straight into it. I know you weren't really expecting to be called this morning, so I'll make it quick, I promise. That property that you have for sale right there on Main Street, did you end up selling that thing, or do you still own it? So I know it didn't sell because it went off, but they don't know I don't know. And so when I ask them if it's sold, this gives them kind of an opportunity to maybe vent about why it didn't sell. They'll open up to you. No, it didn't sell. And then they'll just immediately start saying, we had 20 showings and no feedback, or, I hate that agent, or I've heard some crazy stuff. But you want to let them talk.
You said something that's not on there, but it left the question open-ended. You said, did you guys end up selling, or do you still own that? And so because you added do you still own that, it left the question open-ended to where they can't say yes or no.
Right.
They have to answer the question.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then they're more amped to talk.
Right. And they'll say, no, they didn't, or no, we took it off the market, and this is what I was just talking about. They'll explain why they didn't sell it. We plan on listing it with another realtor, or sometimes you'll get, no, it didn't sell, but we've already re-signed with our realtor. We're just going to take it live in 2 more days or whatever, So you'll get our order. Oh, we plan. They'll tell you sometimes straight up, we plan on interviewing 3 more agents. Like we need another realtor, and that kind of ends everything. You just skip the rest of the script and kind of go into your close. But if they say, hey, we're going to stick with our same realtor and relist it, like I said, just wish them luck, move on to the next call. I feel like you're kind of wasting your time. They know their other realtor. They don't know you. I don't think you're probably going to have a good chance of squeezing your way in there, and they don't know you.
What do you do when they say we've already picked a realtor but we haven't signed docs?
I can go into something like, I can always say something like, okay, well, I can completely respect that. Would you mind getting a second opinion at all, just to keep them honest, or what are you thinking there?
So
I can always say something like that.
When they say that.
Yeah.
But I always try to say, would you have room for one more since you haven't?
Yeah,
signed?
I mean.
And the reason for that is, one, it shows, initiative and that I want it. But sometimes once I can get in front of them, then I can win them over. If they haven't signed documents,
Yeah.
they're not in a contract.
I feel like if they, I'm sorry.
No, go
You're
ahead.
good.
I feel like if they say we've picked someone but we haven't signed documents, that's like an open door.
Yeah, like, have you
Like,
really
you're like-
picked them?
Like they're about to
Yeah,
make a decision.
Because if they were like loyal to
But I've
them,
got
they
nothing
would
in
say,
writing.
yes, we picked
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
realtor. Not, oh, yeah, but I haven't signed anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that-
And if you end up going and, winning them over with your marketing, maybe the other realtors didn't even present marketing. And they were just picking them off, whatever reason. So as long as the contract's not signed, don't take the no just yet.
And make
Try
sure you
one
take a
more
contract
time.
with you.
That's right.
Make sure you take a contract with you,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Because somebody else been call them.
Basically, until you get the no, keep trying for the
Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah.
anytime you see that door still open, go in. Okay?
I agree with all that. One of my questions to ask is just out of curiosity. Look, you have a beautiful home. Just out of curiosity, what kind of feedback were you getting when you were getting showings? This opens them up to tell you bad things about their last agent. Let's just be honest. You're looking for a pain point here. Most agents are very bad about communicating. A lot of times you'll hear, as soon as the sign went in the ground, never heard from my agent again. It's been 6 months. I've probably heard from her 3 months ago. You want to reiterate pain points. When they bring that up, you want to actually reiterate it back to them. Oh, I'm sorry. You said they never communicated with you at all? Like, just to be sure here, just to be sure. And then they'll have to say it again. So 3 times it's been brought up of how terrible their last realtor was with a communication problem. They never checked in, whatever it is. And then you kind of have to differentiate yourself. Oh, wow, yeah, usually when I take listings live, 24 hours after every showing is when I follow up for feedback and relay it to my clients, so they know what direction to take. Then I like to ask if they had any offers in hand. Sometimes you'll say, you'll get, yeah, we had a bunch of low balls, and then they start getting angry and mad in this market, and they start blaming everything. And then sometimes you'll say, no, we didn't have any offers. I don't know why, but we just didn't have any offers. So if they don't tell you like what their future plans of the house are, I like to always segue into the question. Now, there can be filler conversations in between all this, obviously, but I always like to segue back into, so is selling still an option for you, or has the door kind of shut on that forever? And it's very important you use the word forever, because that puts like an ultimate final decision in their brain. And the human brain has like a knack for correcting people it thinks is wrong. So if you say forever, they may say, we want to take it off the market for now, but they may say, we still want to sell in the future. And they'll tell you right then, they'll say, no, not forever. Like, we're eventually going to move again. And that's how you know you kind of got them on the hook as far as at least following up with them for a year, 2 years, however long it takes. But you got a good one if they still say, we still want to sell. Yeah, and they'll give you whatever reason. And obviously, I take notes on the reasons they give. Which I'll have this later in the scripting too, but it's kind of important to talk about now too. So if they say our daughter's graduating college in 3 months and she might want to build on this lot you're calling about, like, I'll write that down. And then in 2.5 months, I'll reach out. Hey, I know your daughter's about to graduate college. We had this in our first conversation. I know your daughter's about to graduate college. Is she still trying to build on that lot, or maybe my guy can come in and build his house on that lot now? You just kind of bring it up to let them know you were paying attention. You're listening, you're an active listener. Clients love that. Well, my partner's gone. So I have this titled The Ask, and a couple scenarios with the ask. The ask is obviously asking for the appointment, asking for the close. There's only really 3 scenarios that I can think of that are beneficial to the agent. So this is not necessarily the end-all be-all, but this is what I could think of. So the ask is always the same, especially for the expired script. So you always want to reiterate the conversation earlier. Hey, earlier I know you said you still wanted to sell. Now let me ask you this: are you kind of married to this is the way this is exactly word for word how I ask it. I always say, are you married to that last agent you were using, or would you be willing to entertain a second opinion? I feel like married is a strong word. So if there's any doubt in their mind, I feel like they're going to let you know that, no, I'm not really married to her. If there's something better out there, I'd be open to it. I get a lot of that. I get a lot of, I don't want anything to do with them. I get a lot of, yeah, she's a family friend. She's done 4 deals for us. And then at that point, that's the rejection scenario here. And then I just kind of let them go. No worries at all. I always kind of throw a joke in there. I had to ask because you never know. And then I just wish them luck and kind of move on. Scenario 2, this is a good thing, but it's not necessarily the ideal scenario. It's the long-term play. It's, yeah, we'd consider relisting with someone else when the time came, but we're waiting on whatever. Like I said, taking it off to let it breathe is a big one. Taking it off around the holidays, or we're considering maybe renting it out now. Like I said, the specificity of the response is not really important. They're probably not going to agree to meet with you today regardless of what you say. So I don't like you to push to do so. No worries at all. Basically ask for permission to follow up. I always make the promise. I always say, hey, do you mind if I keep in touch with you? But I promise I'm not going to put you on any list, and I promise I'm not going to spam you. Because when you start saying keep up with you, people immediately think, okay, he's going to send me 5 texts a week or an email a week. I don't want to. A lot of people tell you they don't want to deal with that. And I wouldn't want to deal with that. So I always just say, hey, I'm going to keep up with you. Maybe once a quarter, once every month, something like that. If anything crazy goes on in the neighborhood, I'll reach out and let you know so you can be updated. Most people say, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Please don't put me on a list. Then you'll put them in the CRM. You'll set a reminder. Depending on what they said is how long I set the reminder. If they're like, yeah, we're just going to take it off now and let it breathe, we'll decide what to do later. I may text them once a month. I may shoot a text or give a call once a month. If they have something specific in mind, I may set the timeline around that specific event, whatever it may be. Scenario 3, this is obviously the most ideal thing, is you get the appointment. Yeah, we'd be open to chatting with you, or yeah, come on by, or whatever. I always say, perfect, let me pull up my calendar, so if you don't mind, we're on the same page. What's your schedule looking like Tuesday at 2 o'clock? Perfect. Now, what's a good email for you? If I don't write it down, I forget. That's what I always tell them. I'm going to send you a calendar invite. If anything changes, feel free to let me know. They'll give you an email address. You put it on the calendar right then. You send the invite to them. You're prompt about it, and then you go to the appointment. Voicemails. So this is big for me. If I call 10 people and leave 5 voicemails, I probably have 3 people out of those 5 call me back every single time. It doesn't matter. A lot of people tell you not to call or not to leave voicemails because they'll just see the number missed call and they'll call you back. I don't agree with that. I leave voicemails, but I just try to spark curiosity with the voicemail. So my voicemail is the same every single time. It's just, hey, John, this is Cale Myrick with Water's Edge Realty. I was actually calling about that property that I saw you had for sale on Main Street. It looks like it went off market. I'm not entirely sure if you even own it anymore. But if you do own it, just had a couple of questions for you. 251-504-6134. And I always say look forward to hearing from you. So you kind of set an expectation. You pique their curiosity. They're like, well, what do you want to know about my house? What could you possibly have a question about? And then also I say look forward to hearing from you because I want to put like an expectation, like I expect to hear back from you. As weird as that sounds, it works a lot. Like I said, if I probably get 40 to 50% of voicemails I'll leave call me back. And then whatever they say in there, you just say, hey, yeah, and you go right into one of your scripts. Semicircle script, I won't bore you with the quick stuff. Same as above, same intro as above. Same thing I talked about earlier. Good, I know you weren't expecting a call today. Make it quick, I promise. That vacant lot you own right there on Main Street, I actually have a client that drove by it, told me to find out who owned it because he would love to build on it. Have you ever even considered selling? Like, you want them to almost think like, I know you really don't want to let this go. Have you even considered it? Like, that would be kind of crazy, wouldn't it? Like, it's such a nice lot. I don't know why you would want to do that. And it sounds counterintuitive, but you want to do stuff that makes the prospect do the opposite of you. So thinking you're crazy for wanting to sell something, the prospect is going to say, well, no, I mean, for the right dollar amount, we might get rid of it, kind of thing. If they say no, you can always shift to more of like circle dialing, try to get the email, maybe try to stay in contact. I don't believe in letting any opportunities go. Just because you get the no up front, I feel like you should still try to maybe do a long-term play with the prospect. No, for right number, I wouldn't have any issues letting it go. Awesome. I always like to say I'm calling on the behalf of a buyer. I always like to say, hey, to be transparent, I'm representing my client in this. But did you have a specific number in mind that maybe you thought about letting it go for or that you would walk away with? And I always like to say walk away with because you don't want a seller to get caught up and say, you said you were going to give me $100,000 for this lot, and then they walk away with 90 after closing costs and they paid your commission or whatever. Then they're mad at you. So I always say walk away with, and then you can reverse engineer their numbers in your spreadsheet and see if it makes sense. I like to get the prospect to name a number because I feel like they're not realtors, maybe they're not experts. Maybe they say, maybe you get a good deal for your client. Maybe they say, yeah, I'll let that one go for 50 grand and it's worth 75 grand. You know, like maybe you get a good deal for your client. But if they give you a number, that's ideal. I appreciate the information. When's a good time to call you back? I'm going to call my client. Can I call you tomorrow at 3 o'clock? Sure. Very easy, very straight to the point. Scenario 1, your client's interested. Best case scenario, obviously, proceed with negotiations as normal. Since the property's not on market, you don't really have to worry about it most time coming and being snatched out from under you. You can kind of do a little bit of the verbal, the text back and forth. You don't have to be super, super formal about how you negotiate. Scenario 2, your client is not interested or negotiations didn't work out. Many times you'll have an investor that wants to buy land, and I'll just call land. Using him as an example, he wants to buy, but he may have not even seen the land yet. So I like to just bring the deal and say, hey, this guy's wanting to sell, can you drive by it, kind of thing. Not ideal, but not the end of the world. Now the attention, I think, turns to the property owner. You forget your client, you find them something else, you try to turn the property owner into a client. You know, my client ended up passing after walking the property, but let me run something by you. I'm going to run some numbers on the lot. I know you're interested in selling. If I can find comps that support getting that price that you expressed, would you be totally against me maybe taking the property to market for you? You know, you try to step in and become the seller for them because they've already given you a number. Now, like if we can make that happen, does it really matter who buys it? You know, not really. They just.
You mean the seller's agent, like a listing agent?
Yeah. You take it to market for them. Yeah. To represent the seller. They agree, obviously ideal. Ask for the email address, pull the numbers as soon as you get a chance. They reject you, no worries at all. I have to ask because you never know. And then they may come back with something like, I understand, but we don't want to sell because of this. And then it just goes full circle. You just repeat what we've already talked about. It just, whatever the timeline they give you, you just keep following up. You just never miss out on an opportunity. Circle dialing script. I'll try to be quick. I know I didn't think this would last this long.
I know you created such a great PowerPoint that was going to last this long.
I know. What a guy.
What did you do with my name?
All right, relax. You're not supposed to see that yet. Relax. Okay. Relax. Circle dialing script. We're going to go one line at a time since she's nosy. So I like to treat circle dialing, this is completely cold, but you don't have to do it completely cold. You can always piggyback off of something that happened. I think that's way easier to do on yourself. Let's just say, you don't have to actually have a reason for calling. For example, Wendell Cale just sold a property in Timber Creek. She just sold one in Timber Creek. You can use her sale to piggyback your call off of. For example, same intro, pretty boring stuff. Yeah, they may get mad, may not, whatever. Can I ask why you're calling? And then you just say, hey, absolutely. I know you weren't expecting the call, so I'll keep it quick. I know you own that home on Main Street, the main street that's in Timber Creek. Well, I wasn't sure if you saw, but the exact same floor plan that you have just sold for $575, just sold for X. Now you pique their interest. Now you actually have a reason for calling instead of just, if you watch Ricky Caruth's old stuff, he will tell you to call and ask about the weather and ask about, is there any way I can help you? Do you need a realtor today? I'm like, that is excruciatingly bad. And I know he made his living off that, and he played the volume game, though. I would rather not dial 1,000 people a day to get a couple email addresses. I would rather have a real reason to call somebody. They may respond, oh, yeah, thank you for letting me know, but I'm not interested. They may respond, oh, wow, and then you can kind of segue into, I know it wasn't on your mind, but prices have really, shot up since you bought in 2018. If you could get a similar number for your home, would that be something you would consider doing as well and capitalizing on that? Yeah, I think with those numbers, we would consider it. Ask for the appointment. Or, well, no, our kids have 2 more years left in high school. We don't want to pull them out of school. We're going to stay here until they graduate, and then we're going to go live in Montana. No worries at all. And then I try to be anti-sales. If they put a legit reason out for not wanting to sell, I try to be anti-sales. Oh yeah, that wouldn't even make sense. I wouldn't pull my kids out of school either if I was in your shoes. And then that makes them feel like they can actually trust you because you're not just there just to get the sale. I'm trying to do what's best for you as well. And they may say, yeah, or I would like to say, yeah, do you have an agent that you trust that you'd use when the time came? And they say, yeah, we really love Wendell Cale. And then you say, no worries at all, she's a great agent, I'm going to shoot you my information. If something happens and she gets out of the business or she's no longer in the area, feel free to reach out. And then I wouldn't really keep following up on that just because they already expressed that they have a very good agent. And if they say no, obviously nobody they would call immediately, right into asking for the email address, stay in contact, don't spam them. Does that sound fair? And then I didn't do it for sub-owner script because they're the devil, so. And that's it. Do y'all have any questions? Dang.
There's a TikTok for Wendell Kaler.
Unfortunately, we don't have time to do live calls. That would have been exciting.
We could do. I mean, if you wanted to try a few.
6.
You could do a few.
Live?
Yeah.
Is this what we're doing right now?
Yeah.
We're about to pressure me?
All right, so 6 is the year. But here's the thing, if he does live, you'll have to be quiet, and
If I
we
get,
can't guarantee that they'll answer the phone,
well, I'll show you my process. You'll at least be able to see my process.
but hopefully he can get somebody on the phone, and maybe they give him a little bit of pushback to where he can work on.
No. We don't. No. We don't want pushback.
Well, that's where you learn.
We want appointments today.
Wait, you're making a real call right now?
He's gonna make-
I will.
So y'all gotta be quiet.
This is actually more comfortable for me than talking what I just did.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, why is my screen so small?
Why does yours look different?
I got the beachy.
What do you beach?
I'm the palest person in here, and I got the beach version.
You can change it whatever you want.
All right, so I'll show you my exact process. So lots and land, unless it's for the investor who actually just called me, we will skip these. I like to look. That's a DHI. We'll skip that. Allison Ward. Oh boy. Oh, I've already called that guy.
Hey, if you do get it and you know the agent, do you call the agent?
Okay, good. That's a great question. I do not.
He called one of mine.
On accident. Well, that was when I was with a different. I was with a different brokerage. I was with a different brokerage.
And then he said, "Oh, she's my friend. Don't tell her I called you."
Yeah, I said that. I did say that.
He picks up the phone and calls me. He's like, "Some guy just called me."
Snitching.
I was like,
Snitching.
I was like, "Oh, it must be Cale."
Hey.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't work with snitches anyway, so that worked out.
Hey, and what a great thing though. How could she get mad?
Yeah, we keep it street around here.
You were trying.
So there's a couple stipulations I put on myself. If any of you guys have an expired listing, I will never call them. So I feel like that's disrespectful. No, I feel like that's disrespectful. I'll never call anybody from the brokerage's expired listing, so you never have to worry about that. If it's an agent that I really like and really respect from another brokerage, I'll probably still call, but I won't call you guys. My cousin had an expired the other day. Called it. Just to let you know.
Other Myrick guy that I see.
Carl.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't call Carl's. It was Rachel's, the other cousin. I will call her.
I see Carl all the time.
Now,
I'm
I feel
like,
like
Kale,
y'all
you got
doing too
this
much
listing
name
for
dropping
something.
now, Kale. You can't be telling us y'all family business.
No, that's just he has cousins in
No,
there.
I respect Carl enough not to call. I don't respect Rachel enough not to call. She was mean to me one time, so the get back is good. Hey,
Don't call it condo. Keep going.
hey, I'm not. By the way, got the listing. So we won't.
Oh, Rachel.
Yeah, poor
Well,
Rachel.
y'all also don't share the same last name with you.
See, 68 days on market, I'm like, what's wrong with the seller? That's what I think.
Yeah.
So if it's like 30 days on market, I'm like, I probably don't want to call that person. That's vacant land. I'm going to ignore that. Let's see if I can find something. Oh, God, Jessica Mott. 144 days.
Call that one.
Okay.
Withdrawn.
Wait, it's expired? It says withdrawn.
It's fine.
We didn't. Hey,
Can we just say we can't?
No, we didn't.
I said I'll take a hand slap.
what does it say? Jackie Lee. Wait, what? Brian. What?
Jackie.
Oh, fair up. Single tax. Jackie Bryan.
Junior? So that's a boy named Jackie?
Oh, I thought somebody had a. It could be a woman. Women can own property too now.
Are they juniors? Are women juniors?
Women can
She was
own
a
property
junior.
too
It could be a
now.
he.
Jackie?
I have
That's
a
what I'm saying,
client-
with it being
I have
a junior, I feel like
I have
it's
a male
man.
client named Bonnie. Right
Well,
now.
that's what I'm saying.
Do women have junior names? I don't. I never heard that. Yeah, I don't. I've never heard
I
that.
think it's a thing. They messed up and they have me as a junior because John is a junior.
No, that's fine.
One time I thought there were a bunch of people named Etel and
That's things you don't say out loud.
and I was like, why are there so many needles in here?
That's hilarious. Oh no, he's 64.
All right, y'all ready?
He is.
All right, y'all gotta be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet.
I'm scared for you.
Okay.
No, we're not. You're gonna make it a deal.
Oh boy, 64 years old. Have you updated your AARP? AARP? All right, let's see. 417. Man, this text is so small on my screen.
417.
I got it. Unfortunately, I got it. All right, Calibri. Is it Calib?
Calibri.
Calibri.
Hello?
Hey, good morning, Jack.
Yes.
Hey, Jack. Cale Myrick with Water's Edge Realty here in Fairhope. You doing all right this morning?
Good, doing good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for asking. Hey, I know you weren't really expecting a call this morning, so I'll make it quick, I promise. That property that you had for sale right there on Calibri Street, looks like it went off market on my end. Did you guys end up selling that?
Nope. No, took it off the market for a while.
Okay. You guys kind of let it breathe, or what are you thinking?
Taking it off for 30 days, and yeah, I'm gonna come back on sometime, maybe 1st of March.
Okay. So you already got a game plan. Let me ask you something. Are you kind of married to that last agent you were using, or would you be maybe willing to entertain a second opinion when the time is right?
I am gonna go with someone else.
Okay.
So if you want to mail me some information about yourself, your realty,
Sure.
listings that you've had before and sold, and listings and some detailed information about who you are and what you've done in the past.
Absolutely. I'll do you one better. Do you mind if I just put together a packet? I'll come by and just drop it off on your front porch. I won't bother you at all.
Yeah,
And
that's fine. Yeah, there's a bench right there on my front porch. Just leave it right there.
Awesome. I will do, man. I appreciate how kind you were in sharing that information with you. I'll get you something here in the next day or two.
All right, yeah, there's no hurry. So, all right, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
So now he'll add it in. One of the ones I would mention in your packet.
I can't hear.
was Hawthorne Road.
Oh, yeah.
So,
So,
Jack, so you didn't hang up and Jack just heard us all.
yeah. I'm a test subject.
That was set up, y'all. He just called one of his friends.
You know my guy, Jack Senior, Junior.
So that was good. So now, so like, okay, so you didn't like make an appointment that call, but you now like touch base with him, and then
I got to follow up
you'll
on what I
say,
said.
"Well,
I got to follow up on what I
drop
said I
off
would
the
do.
packet," And then you send him a text.
So you're gonna
Yeah.
drop off the
So
packet,
send
then you're
us
gonna
a
follow
video
up
of you
with a
Yeah.
call, making sure he received the packet. Did he have any questions?
So what would happen?
So usually I kind of skip the big
All get a split of the commission.
referrals. You get a referral. So I kind of skipped the big portion of the script there because I felt like he was a no BS guy. Like he didn't sound like he wanted to stay on the phone and talk.
Right.
So rather than just let him like rush me off the phone, I was like, let me just ask because you might as well ask. And if he
Bring to the,
What will your packet be?
oh, okay, now we're asking a little much. Yeah, that's a little
I told
trade
him-
secrets.
I told him he should definitely talk about the one he sold in Hawthorne that had expired 4 times. And
When did you tell him this? I thought this was just happening.
when y'all were all.
Yeah, y'all were cheering. I couldn't hear her. She was talking.
It was set up. That was set up.
Kendall, don't do that to me.
It was set up.
But you gotta have follow-up, right? So if you drop the packet off, then what's the plan? You need to call again, make sure he received the packet. Did he have any questions? If he's, lining something in March, I usually would say like, I'm gonna call you back. So if he's aiming for March, I'm gonna call you back the second week of February to put you on my calendar. I call back the second week of February to put him on my calendar. If you tell the client you are going to do something, you better
do it.
So why did you, say to drop it off compared to email?
What's your email?
Because if you email it, it's more easily lost. They have something physical there that they're going to set on their counter and maybe remind you.
A lot of people don't want to give you an email either because they don't have one.
Yeah,
I was gonna
yeah.
say, kinda seemed better that way, cause you
Yeah.
weren't prying for their personal information.
Sure,
You already know where
yeah.
the house is.
Yeah. And he already gave me the hint. He said, yeah, we're going to go with somebody else. He didn't say, yeah, we're going to go with
So.
John Doe. Like he didn't have one picked out. He is interested in
It
interviewing.
took everything in me not to say something to you guys. Make sure he's not listing with his realtor that he already has. I wanted to like whisper, but he could hear me, so I was like, Hill's got this.
I've done this a time or
Hill's
two.
got this. That was great.
Does this say withdrawn too? I love withdrawals.
I think it's like the first time we've ever called on the spot, and it's been like.
See, sometimes you'll get these.
Now you've said his
You'll get these. Sometimes it says withdraw in 221 days. You'll go to CRS, it'll say it's still active, but I always just click on here, and sometimes it's just, see, it says canceled. Now it says canceled. So here's I like to look at the pictures and just see.
Oh, that's another thing I meant to tell y'all. Do not, like, if you bring up the pictures, kind of let them bring it up, because sometimes the seller took their own pictures.
But these are nice.
So you don't want to.
Pictures are horrible.
Yeah, you don't want to say the pictures are horrible. And
Those
the seller
suck.
took their own pictures and you.
Oh,
offended them.
Surfside Shores,
So
perfect.
the way of asking was, did your client use did your realtor use a professional photographer, when getting the pictures?
Oh, see here, you have a
High school.
absentee owner here. He's not local, so this is good. He's probably still motivated to sell. Let's look him up real quick.
One more?
Yeah, I'll do one more.
He's on a roll.
I'll show you a rejection. I'll show you a rejection real quick.
This ain't gonna be no rejection. We're gonna be 2 for 2. We're about to be your new team.
I'm about to say y'all gonna have to join in on all my calls. Batavia, yeah. Oh Lord, hope it's not the dead person.
Jesus.
Stone Fox Drive.
I'm not ready for that today, Lord.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I don't ever look at the criminal.
Yeah, if it's like domestic violence 6 times in a row, this might not be a good contact, You gonna beat me up when I come over?
Yeah, he's
I thought you weren't doing that. You got peer pressure?
Yeah, I always get peer pressured.
And he got like
And he was
drop the one he did was. That's awesome.
I'm about to use y'all's printer.
All right, one more call.
Patrick Murphy. Dang, it rang. Shh.
Hello?
Hey, good morning, Patrick.
Yeah.
Hey, Patrick. My name is Cale Myrick. I'm with the Water's Edge Realty down here in Gulf Shores. You doing all right this morning?
Yeah, we're doing fine.
Good. Hey, man, I was actually calling about that property that you had in Surfside Shores. It looks like it went off market on my end. Did you guys end up selling that?
We did not.
Okay.
We just took it off the market.
Okay. What are you kind of thinking with that? You kind of going to let it breathe for a little while, or are you guys kind of stop?
Yeah, I mean, we're just getting the rentals for the summer. So
Okay.
we don't have to sell it.
Sure.
I mean,
The door hasn't closed on selling forever, has it? You got it?
no.
Okay.
No, absolutely not.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, I'm just being a little nosy here. What kind of feedback were you guys getting on the property when you were having showings?
You know what? You'd have to talk to my wife because I don't really. Sorry. I don't really. I'm just a person that does all the work.
Hey, I have a wife. I get it, man. I get it.
Right,
10 years strong.
Yeah.
No worries at all. I see her name is Bonnie. I don't have her contact information. She doesn't have to be there with you, does she?
No.
Okay. You wouldn't mind if I called her, would you?
Feel free. She probably won't answer. She's doing W-2s right now.
Okay. Oh, does she do taxes? Does she want an extra client?
I don't know.
No, I'm just kidding, man.
It's usually pretty rough around tax time.
Okay, I get that. I'll tread lightly then. I might just shoot her a text. Do you happen to have?
Give her a call.
What's her number if you don't mind?
It's 513-477-6277.
6277. And her name is Bonnie. Okay, what I'll do is I'll let her know. I'll name drop you if you don't mind, and let her know that we had a conversation, and then shoot her a text, and then at her convenience she can kind of give me a call, and we can kind of go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, Patrick, I appreciate you, man.
All right, see ya.
All right, thank
See ya.
you.
Bye.
Just giving his wife's number away is crazy. It's like, yeah, just call my wife.
But so he said he wanted to get the rentals, so I would keep in touch with him to say, hey, how's it renting out? Like, are you getting good traffic? So they're probably gonna put it back on the market, if I had to guess, like August or September.
All right, don't be calling him.
No, but I'm just saying, so he would put it in his to-do. He
that
would
on notes.
put it in his to-do to follow up with them, check on the rentals, how's it doing, and then put something in play for like fall.
Those 2 calls went too good. You had to close the computer quick, huh?
Hey, when you got it, you got it. You know what I mean? Like,
kinda just sold me on
you
it.
know what I mean?
It's kind of fun. Like, you are gonna
Yeah.
run across like your negative Nancy's, but like they don't know who he is. So like even if they did give him the no today.
You can't lose something you never had. That's the way I look at it. It's like, so you might as well try. So.
All right, well, time for